book study, our spring series, The Book of Joy, written by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. It's my favorite book of 2020, a book filled with joy. And when I think of the presence of these two men, I see joy, I see love, I see aliveness when they are with each other. And when I hear their words echo those same things: joy, hope, aliveness, friendship. Their words and their actions and their postures are congruent through all of their lives. And I think that any of us would admit that these two men have had a share of challenges, disappointments, heartbreak, and suffering in their lives. And they still radiate that essence of joy, that peace that is far beyond any life experience. Nothing that they experienced in life has tarnished that expression of joy. And the Dalai Lama was exiled from his home country of Tibet decades ago. And Archbishop Desmond Tutu was imprisoned for his work to end apartheid. So they have known suffering. And last week we heard their words, and I believe they're worth repeating. And they say, discovering more joy does not save us from the inevitability of hardship or heartbreak. In fact, we may cry a little more easily, but we will also laugh a little more easily. Perhaps we're just more alive. Yet as we discover more joy, we can face suffering in a way that enables rather than embitters. We have hardship without becoming hard, and we have heartbreak without breaking. The Archbishop and the Dalai Lama are living examples of these words in actions. They maintain this sense of joy. They both say they don't do that in isolation. Neither are a single cell in the world. But they do that with the support of the community, of humanity, just as we do. And they share that setting out to be joyful in life is not necessarily how it works. Now, we in Unity understand the power of intention and the power of using our words and our thoughts and our energy to co-create our life. And there's more to it. That not just setting the intention, but by opening and being open to allow ourselves to expand and to blossom with that joy, or whatever it is that you wish to make manifest. It's opening to the allness of life. It's opening to those happy, fun-filled, unicorn and fairy sprinkles moments when life seems to be going our way, and the days of the harsh realities of life, the disappointments, the rejection, the suffering, and the days that we feel like we really missed the mark of life. This is the wholeness of life. We are living incomplete, one without the other. It's that whole spectrum of living. When we're open to that wholeness, then we understand that those easy breezy days help us expand and grow spiritually. And those really, really tough days that are hard to navigate, that feel stuck, those harsher moments are also growing us spiritually. Those are the times that I get to live what I say I believe. Because to say it is one thing and it sounds all nice and lovely, and then to live it is sometimes a different experience. We feel the itchy and scratchy and the gyrating of all of it. Those harsh times allow me to live my faith right out loud in the world, and to engage and to strengthen and to solidify my spiritual muscles. Now, as I was on the way to Unity this morning, I drove by White Rock Lake, and there were people running and jogging and walking and biking, and we pump iron, we lift weights, we swim, we do all of these things for strengthening of our physical muscles. And so too, in the living of life, we strengthen our spiritual muscles. It's everyday living, the ups and downs, the ins and outs, and all the curves that life throws us allows us to strengthen those spiritual muscles. Through every challenge, through every obstacle, through every hard time, we get to stand stronger, more firmly in our words, and support it with our actions. And we build evidence that truly the universe is here supporting our highest and best. And we build that evidence piece by piece. Now, the Archbishop says that in a kind of paradoxical way, it's how we face all the things that seem to be negative in our life that determine how we become a person. If we regard all of this that is frustrating, and all that happens as frustrating, we're going to come out squeezed and tight and just angry and wishing to smash everything. You see people like that? People who are kind of angry at everything. I call on Jeremiah 29:11, which sustains me in times of challenges. And it's the Lord, and the Lord says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to do harm, plans to give you hope and a future." Hope and a future. And to me, this doesn't mean that there's a deity out here orchestrating my life, shoving me along the way. It's the Lord. And when we speak of this Lord metaphysically, it means our highest consciousness, our divine knowing. It is our I am nature. And when I contain my mind only in my humanness, life challenges might feel rather ominous. But when I'm living from my highest consciousness, when I expand into the truth of who I really am, who we all really are, when I live in awareness of my divinity, I trust that all is working out for good. I trust and I have hope. It's that evidence that we build. In all of my years, I can say, yes, the universe is working out for my good, whether I can see it at the moment or not. But when I look with hindsight, everything is evolving perfectly and in harmony. Now, it is the Dalai Lama's tradition to believe that joy is our essential nature, that we are all capable of having immense joy. And there is now research evidence that joy can be cultivated. We can create joy in our lives. And there's three parts to it. The first part is our genetic predisposition. You know, either the Eeyore or the Tigger. You know, the Eeyore who is joyful and happy no matter what's happening in life. And then there's the Tigger who is sad and despondent and downtrodden no matter what's happening in life. One can't be brought down and one can't lift themselves up. The other ones are the circumstances that are around us, which we have little control over. Now, yes, we have a great deal of control over the thoughts we hold, But we are co-creating with over 7 billion people on the planet. So there's going to be a time when what I'm co-creating with the divine bumps into you, or bumps into you, and they might not be the same thing. So we might have a little bit of dissonance. We can't control those things. But what we can control is our attitude and our actions. We have a great deal of control over that. And that's our unity principle, that we co-create the experiences of our lives by the activity of our thinking. Not so much what is happening, but as the way we think about what is happening. Now, two people faced with a similar experience, perhaps two people have lost a job, been released from their job, and yet they might have opposite ideas about that. One person might feel heartbroken and hopeless and at the end of everything. And the other person might feel joyous and free that the universe has released them and put them into that field of possibility for something new, some new great adventure. So it's how we choose to look at life. And we do have a say over our response to what is happening. If we choose, cannot control everything that shows up in our life, but how we stand with it, how we breathe into it, that we can control. And when we decide to frame the experiences of life in a positive way, in a trusting the universe way, we are more likely to feel gratitude. We are more likely to act with kindness and with compassion. This is a great example of our spiritual beliefs merging with science, because there's evidence to these things now. And the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu begin to and continue to talk about their happiness and their enjoyment as being two kinds. There's that happiness and joy that we feel or experience from our senses. If you ate breakfast this morning, hopefully you sat and enjoyed it. We enjoy the taste of the food we eat and the luscious aromas most of the time. And that we savor that, and that brings us happiness. We enjoy the sounds of music, the gifts that Rachel brings to us each Sunday. We enjoy that immensely. The sounds of the voices of our children, our grandchildren, our friends brings joy to our lives. Sitting and petting our animals is a meditative experience and very joyful. And then there's another kind of joy, and they call this the joy of the mind. It's the joy that we experience through our mind. And I would say that we experience it through our mind and through our soul. It's a deep, deep joy. It's the joy we experience when we're showing compassion, when we're sharing of loving kindness. It's the joy that brings us deeper fulfillment. And the Dalai Lama says, when joy arises at the level of the mind and not just the senses, you can maintain a deep sense of satisfaction for a much longer period of time. Developing a strong sense of concern for the well-being of all sentient beings will cause happiness in the morning, even before coffee. We get to try that. Try to express compassion and kindness for all the people of the world before you have coffee. I bet he's right. I bet that we will experience joy. And the Archbishop Tutu goes on to say, our greatest joy is when we seek to do good for others. We are wired to be caring for others and generous to one another. Now, we often speak of our interconnectedness and our oneness as a humanity, that namaste spirit that we mentioned, we honor everyone because they're connected to us and we to them. And the idea is shared through Ubuntu. And it translates to a person is a person through other persons. That I'm not a person standing here alone. That I get to be a person through you. And you get to be a person through each other. It's through our sharing. It's through our experience of one another. Let me tell you how different it feels, how wonderful it feels to actually experience that this morning with all of you sitting here. Knowing that you're on Facebook and in the ethers is great and wonderful. We feel that connection. But it's this, seeing people's faces and seeing your eyes, yes. Not only are we connected through this thread of humanity, but we actually depend on one another to exist, to be fully who we are, to be those divine creations that we are. Because I'm able to express my divine nature, all of God that is moving in me, I get to express that because you're here. And you get to express that because others are in your life. We need each other to survive and to thrive in life. And the authors say, when we are able to move beyond our own pain and suffering, we are more available to others. The stories that Jesus taught us are perfect examples of that. The Good Samaritan, the woman at the well, the prodigal son, they are all stories about moving beyond self to seek others. I close today with the beautiful words of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And they say the way we heal our own pain is actually by turning to the pain of others. It is a virtuous cycle. The more we turn towards others, the more joy we experience. And the more joy we experience, the more joy we can bring to others. The goal is not just to create joy for ourselves, but as the Archbishop so poetically says, it is to be a reservoir of joy, as an oasis of peace, as a pool of serenity that can ripple out to others. Joy is in fact quite contagious, as is love, compassion, and generosity. Joy isn't just about having more fun. We're talking about more empathetic, more empowered, and a more spiritual state of mind that is totally engaged with the world.